everyone, welcome back to week 8 in our Luke and Acts series. It's really great to have you back. As most of you know, my name's Rhoda. It's really great to be speaking to you guys today about this next video in the series. So the last few weeks you've already been learning hopefully all about Paul and all about the rest of the disciples and all of the things that they did and how they spread the amazing good news of Jesus after Jesus went back to heaven. So we're going to keep doing that one today. We're looking at Acts chapter 13 to 20 today. And the question I want you guys to think about while you watch this video is, why does Paul do what he does? This video is all about Paul and what he's doing, but why does he do what he's doing? Okay, keep that one in your head. And we're going to watch the video now. Click the link down here and we'll check back with you in a minute. Thanks guys, see you in a sec. Okay, so I want you to imagine just for a minute what it might be like to be Paul. I don't think it would be very great. He spends all of his time travelling around on foot to all these different cities, and when I say on foot, I mean he would have been walking from place to place and between different countries. It was miles and miles. There were no planes, no trains. He was just spending all of his time walking around. He wasn't really having a home to go back to because he was just on the road all the time. And that doesn't sound very nice either. So why is he doing it? What's it all for? That's what I asked you guys to think about beforehand. Keep thinking about that because it's going to be really important at the end. Now we can see from the video that one of the reasons why Paul was doing this was because he had this message to tell everybody. He was spending all of his time speaking to Jews and also to non-Jews as well, the sort of people who would have been believing in the Roman gods or the Greek gods and things like that you might have learned about in school and in the video that we just saw. And he was preaching to just anyone that would listen to him, all of these groups of people. And that was because this message is for everyone. And that doesn't just mean people who lived at the time of Jesus and at the time of Paul. That means you and me as well. The message that Paul was giving to these people is just as important today and just as relevant to each one of our lives as it was to those people about 2,000 years ago. This message of God's love and Jesus' sacrifice is still just up to date today and for you and for me to listen to as well. And every one of us is invited to be part of God's family. Like we saw in the video, when you trust in God and become a Christian, it's almost like you have a new family. Like the Christians that I know, I'd consider to be like my brothers and sisters in Christ is what we call it. And everyone loves and supports each other. And that's somewhere that God really wants you to be as well, part of that family. So it's a really amazing message that Paul's bringing here about Jesus and about being part of the family of God. But it wasn't an easy job for him, not only for the practical reasons that we've already talked about, the travelling and the sleeping away from home all the time, but people just didn't like this message. You know, none of us like to be wrong, and the people who lived around there who believed in all these other gods, they didn't want to be wrong either. They didn't like what Paul was saying about this new God who was just the only God and in charge of everything. So Paul went through so much hardship, pain and suffering. He kept being run out of town. He kept being beaten and rejected by all of these people in all the places that he travelled to. But he kept doing it, and he wasn't afraid to speak out, which is just incredible. Even in chapter 16, which is part of the bit that this video covers, Paul even went to prison for what he was saying. He was with his friend Silas, and they healed a young female slave in the marketplace of one of the cities. And the masters of this girl didn't like this at all, so they grabbed Paul and Silas and got them thrown into prison in that city. Now you might think that would be a pretty low point for them. Prison wouldn't be very nice, but you find them in prison and they're praying and they're singing hymns to God. They just couldn't keep quiet about this good news that they had. They were still so happy and full of joy because of the amazing message that they had. Now, in the middle of the night while they were in prison, there was an enormous earthquake which threw all the doors open of the cells that they were in, and all the chains became loose, and they could have escaped if they wanted to. But they didn't. The jailer, who was supposed to be keeping an eye on them, ran in and he was terrified because he thought he'd be in trouble if all these prisoners escaped. But they hadn't. They were still there. Paul and Silas just wanted to tell the jailer about Jesus. And the jailer ended up becoming a Christian and coming to faith and being part of that family of God. So let's go back again to why Paul did all of these things that he was doing. Why he went through the pain and the suffering and the prison. Because he thought it was just so worth it. And if it was worth it to Paul, all of those terrible things, then it must be such an important message that we need to listen to. I think that means that it's really worth listening to. And the message that they had was just to tell all these people about Jesus, and they thought that was the most important thing. And guys, we think that as well. That's why we spend our time making these videos for you. That's why when we were able to be back in church together, we were running XPLODE, and we're going to be doing that again when we can get back there. When we want to play all those games and have fun with you, but mostly we want to tell you about Jesus and what he means for your life as well. And if you want to know more about Jesus, you can look back at some of the videos that we've done in the book of Luke. And there are other ones on this channel as well with people who have been telling about Jesus and about the message that he has for us. And we'd love it as well if you guys could read about Jesus in the Bible. You might not have a Bible at home, but you can get one really easily on an app for your phone or your tablet. Or if you don't want to do that, get in touch with us and we can get you a Bible if you want to read it. And that would be just so amazing to read all about Jesus in the book of the Bible. But however you do it, please guys, don't just ignore this message. It was so important to Paul that he risked his life for it. And we just want to share it again with you now. Please, please learn more about Jesus and what he means for your life. So thanks for listening today. It's been really, really great to be able to chat to you guys again. Make sure you check back in next week because it's actually the last video in this series. Don't worry, we'll still be doing videos about that, but we're going to finish off the book of Acts and that'll be great. So have an amazing week and we'll speak to you next week. Thanks everybody. Bye.